Hey YouTube, welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Modern Warfare 2. In this guide, we'll be covering everything you need to know from the moment that you open the game. This includes weapon classes, game modes, how to set up your settings. Anything that you need, you can find it here. I've conveniently timestamped each of the individual items as well, so if you have a specific topic you're looking for, you can skip straight to that. Otherwise, make sure to let me know what you enjoy about this video and if you have any questions afterward. So, first things first, when you open up the game, you're going to start in what's called the home menu, which is the screen we're looking at right now. The home menu is comprised of 5 different tabs: Play tab, the Weapons tab, the Operators tab, the Battle Pass, which is not currently available, and the Store tab. We'll be going through each of these tabs in detail, starting with the Play tab. The Play tab is where you go to actually play the game. There's multiple different modes that you can play in, which you can see on your screen as I scroll through them right here, or you can hit L2 to be able to see a list of what they are. Featured is exactly what it sounds like. These are just the highlighted modes to grab your attention right away. Multiplayer is your straight up multiplayer. This is where you're going to have your traditional team deathmatch. You're going to have your larger scale modes like ground war or invasion, anything where you're playing PvP. The campaign is where you get to play the single player campaign mode. This is what will give you all of the different missions that you can play and allow you to either start a new game or pick up wherever you left off. Finally, there is the cooperative. The cooperative mode is where you have missions that you play against AI, but with a teammate. So it's kind of like campaign, except for it's co-op, and you have a specific mission that you're supposed to complete. At the time of launch, there are 3 cooperative missions: Low Profile, Night Area, and Defender Mount Zaya, each one having a slightly different take on what you're doing. Being stealthy, going loud and proud, holding down an area and defending it. Those are how those missions work. If we go back to the actual game modes here, you've got your Quick Play game mode, which is the primary one that most people use. Quick Play is just an accumulation of all the different game modes that you could possibly play. If you click square to filter it, it'll give you a list of all of the different game modes that you have available to you. You can then select and deselect depending on which ones you want to play and which ones you don't. Each of these game modes have their own little description on them, but just to kind of help you out a little bit, the first game mode here on the list is Team Deathmatch. Team Deathmatch is just straight up get more kills than the other team. You're going up, it's 6v6. The first team to reach 100 kills is going to win that match. Not much else going on there. There's no objective. Just get yourself some kills. Free-for-all is similar to Team Deathmatch, the only difference being that you are on your own. But it's up to, I believe, 6 players as well, where the first person to reach 30 kills wins that match. Domination is the next mode, which is an objective-based mode in which there are 3 flags, A, B, and C, and the goal is to capture the flags and hold them. If you're capturing 2 of the 3 flags, you're earning more points than your opponents. That's kind of what the goal is to have at least 2 of them. The first team to reach 200 points, again, through holding these flag objectives, wins the match. Next up, we have Search and Destroy. Search and Destroy is your classic tactical mode where you have 2 bomb sites that one team is trying to plant a bomb at, the other team is trying to prevent you from planting it. You need to work together as a team because if you are eliminated, there are no respawns in this mode. So you need to work together as a team to plant the bomb. If you do plant the bomb, you then have to defend the area until it explodes. If you end up getting eliminated or you can't defend it long enough and the other team defuses it, the team that defuses wins that round. You continue to do these rounds over and over, taking turns switching sides, and the first one to win 6 rounds match. Headquarters is similar to Domination in that there's an objective you're trying to hold to get a certain number of points. Once you capture this objective and start accumulating those points, your team loses its respawn ability until either the timer on that headquarters runs out or the enemy team takes the headquarters back over. Once a headquarters phase of play ends, a new headquarters will pop up in a different location, and you'll do the same thing over. First team to get 200 points from holding the headquarters wins the match. Kill confirmed is very similar to team deathmatch. The only difference is the objective beyond just getting kills is you need to confirm them. When you get a kill in kill confirmed, the enemy will drop dog tags. The enemy drops red dog tags. Your team, when they die, drop blue dog tags. If you pick up a blue dog tag, you're essentially preventing the enemy team from getting points. If you pick up a red tag, you are adding towards your final score of trying to reach 75 points to win the match. Hardpoint is the same thing as headquarters, with the only difference being you do get to respawn. So in Hardpoint, an objective becomes active early in the match. You must stand within the objective area to earn points, and then every so often the hardpoint moves throughout the map, which requires you then to move to a new place to capture it. The first team to get 250 points in this mode wins the match. Prisoner Rescue is a really interesting mode where one team has to defend hostages and prevent them from being extracted, while the other team has to extract them. Similar to Search and Destroy, there is no respawn in this mode. However, you do have the ability to revive. So if you are eliminated during a round, your teammate can actually come and revive you, similar to the mechanics that you would see in Warzone. The first team to either successfully defend the hostages or successfully extract the hostages 6 times will win this mode. Knockout is pretty much the same as Prisoner Rescue, but instead of trying to defend or capture hostages, you're both trying to get a hold of a bag of cash. Whoever's holding the cash at the end of the round wins that round, or whoever eliminates the entire enemy team. Similar to Knockout, there are no respawns. However, if you are eliminated, you can be revived by your team. So make sure to use that to your advantage. Now, those are all the main modes that you have for multiplayer. In addition, there is what's called the third-person mosh pit. This is just a selection of all of those modes, or some of those modes, played from a third-person perspective. So in this mode, you're always looking over your shoulder, and you're playing from that over-the-shoulder view instead of, first-person aim-down sights at all times. For other multiplayer options, you have some larger-scale options. The first is Ground War, which many of you may remember from Modern Warfare 2019. Ground War is a large-scale mode in which 2 teams of, I believe, 32 players go up against each other. This mode includes helicopters, it includes tanks, other vehicles that are used, and the objective is to get more kills, earn more points than the other team. Invasion is an even larger scale version of Ground War. It is a 64v64 mode, but in this mode there's also AI. So you're going up against a combination of enemy players and enemy AI to get the most kills, get to the highest score first. Then the final 2, which really aren't multiplayer, it is, but it's not. It's more of offline stuff. The first is Private Match, which allows you to set up a private match to play, where you can have your own rule set, all the weapons and camos are unlocked, and you can play with just friends or other people setting up a private match, or play against bots. The Benchmark is a way to test your settings on your PC to see how the performance is. I've heard mixed reviews on it. I actually haven't tried it out myself. So if you want to try benchmarking your PC, go ahead. For me, I don't know that it's necessarily worth it. I just go find whatever settings are out there as the best settings. For the campaign, you can either resume your campaign wherever you left off, start a new one, or go select specific missions to play. You can't play a mission until you've actually completed the prior mission, so you must complete the entire campaign if you just want to skip around thereafter. If for some reason you decided to skip a cutscene or you want to go back and watch one again, there is also this cinematics option that allows you to go and view all of the different cutscenes. That concludes everything for the play category, except for probably the most important thing that's not actually in the play category. What if you want to play with friends? Most people who play video games play with someone else. If not, that's completely fine. There's lots of things that we've already talked about of how you can do that. But if you are looking for friends, that's an important thing to know. You'll see up in the top right-hand corner, there's an indicator for your friends list. If you hit R3 on a controller, it'll get you there. The other way to get there is to hit the Start menu or the options menu and go to the social tab, which is the next tab that we're going to talk about. Once you're in the socials tab, you can see who's in your party right away. You can set your settings for your party if you want it to be completely open for people to join, or you want only invites to happen, or only friends can join. By default, it's friends only, but it gives you a few different options for what level of privacy you want on your party. Then if you want to look at your friends, you can scroll through this list. It's not really a great UI. It's not super helpful for adding people on the hub tab. There's actually better ways to do it on some of the other tabs here. For example, if you go to the showcase tab, this is my personal preference, where it actually gives you a listing of all of your friends who are online with the green check marks, or even if they're not online. So that way you can easily scroll through and see multiple users at the same time. In case you have, several people online, it makes it easier to find who you're looking for. If you ran into somebody in a previous game that you want to play with, you just go to the recent tab and you can see who was in your recent lobby, or who were you recently in a party with or recently in a squad with. This will make it easy to find people from prior games who maybe you want to party up with to continue to play because you enjoyed your last match. The last tab that's available here is your friends tab. You can add friends by selecting the add friends button and then entering their Activision ID. You can also just scroll through your friends list in more of a streaming type platform where it's big boxes for each of your friends. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of this. I prefer the showcase, but if you like this layout better, this also works for you. So now that we know what we need to know about our socials tab and our friends list, let's go back to the home page and see what else we have for us. So we covered, here's everything how to play. Here's how you find your friends to play with them. But when you're getting into a game, one of the things you want to do is you want to know how to use weapons, or you want to use specific weapons. That's where the weapons tab comes in. That's the next tab or the next section of the home page. The weapons tab has a lot of stuff in it, so I'm going to break this up into a couple different sections. But we've got creating loadouts, we've got our kill streaks, we've got our vehicle customization. All of these different items have quite a few things you can choose from, so we'll go through each one in more detail. Starting with weapons and building custom loadouts. The first thing that's important to note is when you first boot up the game, you don't have access to this. You will have preset loadouts that you can use until you reach level 4. Level 4 happens very quickly, so don't worry about it. But this is a way to kind of just get you into the game, playing the game without having all of the vast capabilities of building a loadout that could bog you down or prevent you from ever getting started. So for those first couple games, just pick one of those loadouts that seems nice to you. Try it out, see what you like about it, what you don't like about it. And once you reach level 4, then we can get into customization. The customization happens under the multiplayer loadout tab that I have highlighted right now. If I select that tab, it's going to give me my custom loadouts that I can create. You can see here, I can create up to 10 custom loadouts. Right now I've got 5, and I can just click to add one, or I can edit one that I've already created. So let's go through the adding process first, because they're very similar. It's just one's already created, one's not. When I click create new loadout, you'll see it added my custom loadout number 6. It gives me a default setup with a primary, a secondary, my tactical and lethal, my perks, my field upgrades. All of that is preset for me, and now I can go in and change it. We'll go through what each of these are and what each of them mean up next. Once you open up a loadout, you can then go and customize each of the individual items. For your primary and secondary weapon, you can choose to swap those out for any other weapon that you already have unlocked. Or you can use the gunsmith that appears above it to edit attachments, camos, or even blueprints. The gunsmith is probably the most complex thing in this entire game. So if you have any questions coming out of this, make sure to drop it in the comments below so that I can get back to you and make sure that you get those questions answered. But without further ado, once you have a weapon selected in your loadout, you go to the gunsmith icon that's right above it and you select it. Once you select it, it'll bring you into the gunsmith screen. When you first have a gun that's level 1 and you come into the screen, everything is going to be locked. You're not going to be able to change any of your attachments or do anything further. You need to level up your gun by playing the game, getting kills, completing objectives while holding the gun in your hand to get your gun leveled up. As your levels increase, you'll be able to unlock specific attachments to use on your guns. You'll be able to see how you can unlock those using the M4 platform in this case with the weapon progression tab. You can see in the bottom left hand corner, you click that button, it's going to pull up the progression. This is where it gets complex. Some weapons you unlock by just simply leveling up over time. Other weapons you unlock by first unlocking the prior weapon in the weapon tree. So if we look at the M4 platform as an example, you can see the M16 is the third in a progression. First you must level the M4, then you level the Icarus, then you can start leveling or unlock to level the M16. How you figure out when you're going to level this up is by zooming in using the prompt in the bottom left hand corner to the actual weapon that you're looking at. So you can see for the M4, once I reach level 2, I'm going to get this SZ Lone Wolf optic. And each level, I'm going to get a new attachment that can be used on this gun or any other gun across Modern Warfare 2. So one of the nice things is you don't have to go unlock every attachment for every gun that you want to use. Once it's unlocked once, it works across all of them. The downside to this is if there's a specific attachment you want, you may have to use a gun that you have no desire to use in order to unlock that attachment. But as you can see, when I keep scrolling here, you'll notice once I hit level 13 on my M4, the FTAC Recon becomes unlocked. So then I can move down and start using the FTAC Recon if I want to, or I can continue to progress with the M4 and move forward. Using the example that we just looked at with the Icarus to the M16, you'll notice I keep going, and once I hit level 18, I then unlock the Icarus. So at level 18 of the M4, I unlock the Icarus. I can now create a custom class with the Icarus. And then I begin to level that. And as I go through all the levels, again, I get attachments for this weapon and that I can use across other weapons. And then once I hit level 13 on my Icarus, I've now unlocked the M16 and I can begin that progression. So for some weapons, you're going to have to go through a bit of legwork to start unlocking it. The good news is there's, for the most part, not any major guns that are really far locked away that's going to take you a terribly long time to get there. The bigger downside to this progression is that there's certain attachments that you might have to wait a really long time to get. Let's say, for example, you really want to get this specific optic, the SZ-SRO7, unlocked for your M4. Well, in order to do that, I've got to go through this whole progression to the M16 and get it unlocked. So that's kind of the biggest downside to the way that this progression works. Let me know what you think about this progression in the comments below. And while you do that, let's go back to the actual editing of one of our guns. Like I mentioned, all of this functionality is locked to you when you first start, but once you start leveling up guns, each of these attachment categories will also begin to become unlocked for you. For example, I can add a laser onto my gun, like this one here, that helps my aim down sight speed and my aim stability. Or I can go add an optic, like this blue dot, which is my favorite sight, I think, so far, to be able to have that nice precision picture when I'm aiming down my sights. I can go through and add all the attachments that I want, and then once I have the weapon max level, I can further adjust it using what's called weapon tuning. You can see here on this carbon shroud barrel above it, I have a tune option. When I select that tune option, it lets me go and tune the specific benefits for the weapon. For example, I can put my barrel tuning all the way down onto aim walking speed, so I have a really good aim walking speed, but then my recoil steadiness takes a dive a little bit by doing that. Or I can increase my aim down sight speed so I can ADS really fast, but then my damage range buff is not going to be quite as good. So there's different trade-offs that you can make to fine-tune the weapon exactly how you want it, making the meta builds even more complex. There's lots of creators out there who will give those for us, so hopefully we'll see them start integrating some of this weapon tuning as well. Once you've got a weapon tuned out to the way that you want to use it, you can actually go test it out without having to go into a game. You can use the firing range, which is in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, to test out your weapon. You go ahead and open it up. It'll put you in a firing range with a couple targets, and you can test out your weapon, testing the ADS speed, how you like that, the recoil to see what kind of recoil pattern it has, and then try to control that recoil. You can see how fast it kills with head and chest shots, or if you're shooting the extremities, whatever it is that you want to test out. Maybe there was something that you didn't like about it, then you can just go back and you can make whatever changes and then come back into the firing range again. Or if you pre-built a couple versions of the gun, you can just go into your custom loadout and you could change to whatever the other loadout was and test that one out so you can see comparisons side by side. Ultimately, when you're done, there's a way to exit through this options menu that'll bring you straight back to the loadout that you were editing. This is a super nice feature. It'll make it really, really easy for you to test out your guns and make them just the perfect way you like it, so you don't have to go into a game to do that. After you've gotten through all of the functional side of your customization, you've got the somewhat more important part at times, the actual customization of the way the gun looks. Here, you can go through and you can change multiple different things, from the camos to different stickers and pictures on your weapon. Starting with camos, you can go into the camo section and pick what camo you want on the gun. The cool thing with this, the way the camos work now, is you don't have to unlock the camos on every single gun. Your base camos, in which case this one has 4 base camos, once you've unlocked it, that can be used on any gun. So you only have to unlock it one time, and it can be used across all of the different weapons. Again, really cool feature, unless the camo you want is on a gun that you don't want to use. That's where the downside could be. Once you've unlocked all of your base camos, you can then begin working on the mastery camos. Mastery camos are weapon specific, meaning when I unlock the mastery camo, for example, the first one, which is gold, on this weapon, I don't unlock it on all of my other guns. And so you have to do your mastery camos for each individual gun. Once I've finished my first mastery camo, which is gold, for all of my weapons in a single category, for example, all of my ARs, I can then begin on the second mastery camo, which is platinum. I then have to go through and complete platinum on every single weapon, or in total 51 weapons as new weapons are added through DLC. And then I can begin working on the third mastery camo, which is polyatomic. This one is by far my favorite, so you guys will have to let me know which ones you guys like the most. Once you've finished all of your polyatomic challenges on, again, all 51 guns, you'll have unlocked the Orion camo, which is the true mastery camo for Modern Warfare 2. Once you've put your camo on the weapon, you can then go add your couple other things. You have weapon charms, which are a little charm that hang off the side of the gun, and you can unlock those through different challenges, through the battle pass in the future, and add those onto your weapon for some extra decal. And speaking of decal, there are stickers that you can place on here. There's 3 different positions, one of which is your large decal, which goes across the top of the weapon. And then you have 3 different positions for your smaller stickers. And you can put all of these stickers in each of these spots, picking and choosing what you want and where to make it customized to your desire. Like I said, right now, there's not a whole lot of stickers and decals on here, but as the battle passes come out, you'll surely see a lot more of these coming in. So that there is your weapon customization. Like I said at the start, this is probably the most complex topic of all of them. So if there's anything I didn't cover in here or anything you still have further questions on, don't hesitate to put a comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you on it as quickly as possible. Now that we're done with this, let's continue to the rest of our loadout. The other items that you have in your loadout that come in handy are your tacticals and lethals. A tactical is a piece of equipment that helps you gain an advantage in a fight. There's a variety of different attachments here, and I'll talk through each one of them a little bit. The first is a flash grenade. What this does is you throw this, and anybody within a given radius gets flashed. What happens is their screen goes completely white, and it's quite bright, trust me on that. They can't see anything. So it's a good way to clear out a room. If somebody's hiding in there, you can throw this flash in there. They can't see, you run in and get an easy kill. A shock stick is an electric stick that you throw and it plants into a surface. When an enemy runs over it, it causes them to kind of freeze up and shoot their weapon. They can't ADS, they just sit there and shoot their weapon. So it's a good way to set a little trap to identify if somebody's maybe sneaking up behind you, or to get them in a position where they can't do anything and it's an easy kill for you again. Smoke grenade is exactly what it sounds like. You throw it and a big pile of smoke comes out. The smoke grenade is good for providing cover when crossing open areas, but in multiplayer it doesn't get used much else other than that. A stun grenade is a grenade similar to the flash where you throw it and it disables your enemies, but instead of disabling their vision, it disables their ability to move. So they can see, but they're stunned or they're stuck in a position for a couple seconds, giving you a chance to maybe flank and get a different angle on them before you engage. The decoy grenade is used to create a decoy. It makes footsteps or shooting noises, explosion noises, and it grabs enemies' attention, as well as puts a little red dot on the mini-map, so that way it maybe gets them to look at that, grab their attention, so that they're not focused on you coming around another corner. The spotter scope is a rangefinder, more or less. You can look through it, you can spot things at a distance, and you can mark them with the spotter scope. Really doesn't have too much of a purpose, but it is a tool that you can use if you would like to. The stim is a syringe that you can pop when you are damaged, and if you shoot yourself with the syringe when you're damaged, it instantly starts your health regeneration. So this is a way to start regenerating. Maybe you just got out of a fight, you got hit by a couple bullets. Rather than waiting for your health to come back, you hit the stim, it gives it back to you right away, and you can get right back into the fight. The heartbeat sensor is a little tablet of sorts that you pull up, and it'll send out a wave looking for enemies on your radar. And if they show up, they'll pop up as little dots, and you also get a little indicator to tell you how far away they are. The heartbeat sensor only works if a player is not ghosted, so we'll talk about perks in a little bit, but there is a chance that a player might not show up on it even though they're within range of it. The snapshot grenade is a grenade that emits a scanning beam, we'll call it, where anybody within a given radius will show up, or their character will be highlighted. So if somebody's on another side of the wall from me and I throw a snapshot at that wall, they'll show up on the other wall and I can see an outline of them through the wall. This allows you to find enemies who are maybe hiding in a corner and get good visibility on them before you enter a building. The final tactical item we have here is the tear gas. Tear gas is similar to our stuns or flashes where it disables our enemy, but in this case, what happens is you throw it, a puff of gas comes out, and the enemy starts to cough. They aren't able to aim down sight. They move a little bit slower, but not as much as a stun grenade. So it's another way to debilitate an enemy to get an advantage over them. So those are all of our tacticals. As for our lethals, these are more of the ones, as the name would suggest, that will kill opponents when you use them. So in this case, the first one we have is a frag grenade, or a fragmentation grenade. This is a grenade that is cookable, or you can hold it to reduce the timer to when it explodes. You then throw it and then it explodes. If you don't cook it, there is a possibility that an opponent could actually pick it up and throw it back at you. So keep that in mind when you're using one. A proximity mine is a mine that you can throw onto the ground. Once an enemy runs past it, it will trigger the mine to shoot up in the air and explode. Enemies can try to lay down to get underneath this to avoid it, but it's a good way to set up a trap for somebody coming through a doorway, maybe. A drill charge, which is probably my favorite lethal that was added in with this game, is an explosive device that hooks onto a wall, a floor, a ceiling, and it explodes through the wall. So if somebody is sitting on another side of the wall from me, I can throw this drill charge and it'll blow them up through the wall. Like I said, it's my favorite. It's a way to get rid of people who are just hiding in a little corner, because you can get them through the wall without actually having to ever see them. The Molotov is a Molotov, and so when you throw it, the alcohol spreads and it is lit on fire, so anybody who runs in its path starts on fire. You can throw it to either directly hit somebody, you could throw it to block a doorway so they can't run through. or you can throw it and they might get hit by the splash damage and hurt them without actually killing them. The Semtex is another grenade similar to the frag grenade, but the difference being you cannot cook it, or there's no reduce to the timer by holding it longer, and instead of rolling and bouncing wherever you throw it, it'll stick to an object. So when you throw it, if it hits a wall, if it hits a person even, it'll stick to them and then explode after a second or two. C4 is C4. When you throw it down, it'll sit or stick wherever you throw it. So you could throw it on a wall, you could throw it on a car, you could throw it on the floor, and then you have a detonator that you can use to detonate it. You can do it by double tapping square at any given time, and that will cause the C4 to explode. A claymore is similar to a proximity mine, where it's more of a defensive mechanic that you can set into the ground, and when somebody runs past it, it'll trip it and it'll explode. The difference being a claymore is set in the ground, and when somebody runs past it, it just blows up. Whereas the proximity mine, when it got triggered, it shoots up in the air and explodes in a circle. The claymore explodes just in front of it. A thermite is like a Semtex, where it will stick to whatever you throw it against, but instead of being an explosion, it's more of a fire thermite damage. So if you throw it and it sticks to an enemy, it'll cause them damage, or if you throw it and maybe it hits the ground, again, if somebody runs through it, you'll get that splash damage indicator, knowing that somebody has run through that area. The final, which is probably the most fun to use, even though the drill charge may be my favorite, but throwing knives are just a fun feature of, it's a knife, you throw it, if you hit your opponent directly, it kills them. So the objective with this one is to stick your opponent with it. They're very quick, they're very mobile, but you got to get that direct impact to get any damage. That concludes all of our lethals. So now we've talked about our primaries, secondaries, tacticals, and lethals. Next up, we have our perk package. Now, I'm not going to go through explaining every single perk. I'm just going to explain the package itself. There are several preset packages that I'm scrolling through right now, which give you the ability to have certain perks that help you out in game. So for example, you could have double time that makes you run faster. You could have scavenger that allows you to pick up ammo off of dead bodies. You could have spotter, which lets you see enemy equipment and vehicles. These different perks help you throughout the game. There's 3 different tiers within a perk package. You've got your base perks, which are the 2 on the left. These perks you have from the moment the match starts. You have it from beginning to end. Pick it, you choose it, you've got it right away. Next up, you have your bonus perk. This perk is earned throughout the match. So as you get kills, or as the match progresses, you'll eventually earn that bonus perk. And then finally, you have your ultimate perk, which is basically the next tier of even further into the match. Once you get even more of a score throughout the match, you get that perk as well. The bonus perk and ultimate perk tend to be stronger, better perks, hence the reason you have to earn them throughout the match. You can choose one of the pre-made classes for a perk, or you can create your own, similar to our loadouts or our weapons, creating your own weapon. So you come here all the way to the left and you select create a package. When you create a package, it's going to give you a default set of perks to choose from. You then can click X, in my case on a PlayStation controller, to select this package and use it on my loadout as is, or I can edit this package. Editing this package allows me to go through and pick each one of these perks one by one to determine what I want to use on my loadout. Maybe I find that I run out of ammo a lot, so I need scavenger so I get more ammo. And maybe I want to be able to track enemies because they run through all these corners and they're hard to find, so I put on tracker to find their footsteps. These perks each are designed for different types of playstyle. Figure out what your playstyle is and figure out what perks complement that. Once you've picked all of your perks that you want, you go ahead and equip it like I mentioned, and that perk will then be equipped on your package, and you'll have that for the next match that you go into. Another thing to note with perks, as well as any of these items that we talk about, is you unlock them as you progress in the game. So many of these tacticals or lethals, perks, and field upgrades, you might not actually have these available to you yet. But when you progress and as you get up to level 55, which is max level, you will get all of these unlocked. The final item within your loadout is the field upgrade. The field upgrade is a special equipment item that you earn throughout the match. So as you complete objectives, get kills, etc., it decreases the timer for you to be able to use this field upgrade. The field upgrades then give you some sort of an advantage, and there's quite a few of them to go through, so we'll talk about these. The first is the tactical camera. This is a camera that you can place on a wall, on the floor, wherever you like, and it gives you a view into where enemies are coming from. It also gives you a little indicator in the bottom screen if somebody runs into view of it, and it kind of almost works as like a silent alarm, if you will, that somebody has entered a given area. Inflatable decoys, which are a pretty fun one to use, allow you to put down a decoy that looks like a real player. So when an enemy comes into the building, they think that's a person sitting there aiming at them, but it's not. You can use this as a way to distract them, so they're shooting the decoy when you get the kill. A DDoS affects all of your opponent's electronics, such as their mini-map, their HUD, UAVs, etc. Deployable cover is a piece of cover that you can sit behind to protect you from bullets. This allows you to create cover in areas that there aren't otherwise cover. It's very useful for that. It can also be useful for putting down to get on top of, to jump up to places that you maybe couldn't reach on your own. A trophy system is a device that you put onto the ground and it consumes any lethals and tacticals thrown at you. So if you're holding a hard point, you could throw down this trophy system, and when the enemy team tries to throw grenades at the hard point, it will consume them so the grenade does not explode and kill you. It's good for 3 devices and then it goes away. Dead Silence is a field upgrade that makes it so you have silent footsteps. So when you're running around, your opponents cannot hear you. If you get a kill with your gun, melee, or throwing knife, you will refresh that timer and it will continue to go. So you can chain a lot of kills together and keep those footsteps silent. That's a big plus for you. The munitions box is what it sounds like. It's a box full of munitions. When you throw this down, you can resupply yourself and your teammates by giving yourself more ammo for your weapons, more tacticals, and more lethals. So this can be used when you're running out of ammo or, like I said, to resupply your own teammates. A loadout drop is a field upgrade that allows you to pick a loadout or change a loadout. I haven't ever used this one before. Honestly, I don't know if anybody uses it because you can change your loadout every time that you die. But I guess this would give you the ability to maybe have 2 primary guns while still having your perks and not needing to use the overkill perk. A portable radar is like a miniature UAV on a designated location. You throw it down and it sends out a signal to identify or look for enemies in a circle. This circle stays there and it stays for a little while. It's periodic pings just like a UAV would be. Tactical insertion gives you the ability to respawn in a specific location. Once this is available, you can set it down. Maybe you're setting it on a rooftop or a hard to get area, and you can use this as a guaranteed respawn back to that location. Be careful though, if you die close to it, a lot of times people will sit there and stare at it waiting for you to come back. Battle Rage is a gas that you take that gives you an adrenaline rush that allows you to regenerate your health quickly, give you more resistance to things like flash grenades or stun grenades, and your axe sprint is constantly refreshed, so you can run super fast all the time. So it's really helpful when you're trying to be aggressive and sprint through the map. This can help you with that. The Recon drone is a drone that you can control with a camera on it to go and find, identify, spot, as well as mark your opponents. So this is more of a support role type thing that you can put up in the air to help your teammates find the enemies who may be hiding in corners. The smoked airdrop is a series of drones that come through and drop in smoke on a target location, similar to a smoke grenade, but with a larger effect. Suppression mine is a mine that emits a sound wave that debilitates enemies when they come through. It kind of gives like this pulsating, radiating sound to them. It distorts their vision, and makes it hard for them to see, and it slows them down. Anti-armor rounds are special rounds that you can put into your gun to better damage people with armor, vehicles, or other equipment. I'll be interested to see how this works in Warzone 2, as your opponents will have armor in that. That concludes all of our field upgrades. The one other thing to note here is once you've leveled up high enough, you can actually choose to have 2 field upgrades, which gives you the ability to choose one or the other when you're in a game. So, now that you have your loadout all set, you've figured out how to tune and adjust your weapon to your liking, the next thing you need to know is kill streaks. Kill streaks are an in-game tool that you can use to gain an advantage over your enemy. It could be a variety of things, from a precision airstrike to hit a specific area, a chopper gunner where you get to control the chopper, or a UAV to show your enemies on the map. Your kill streaks are very important in multiplayer, as they usually can make a big difference in deciding the match. You can see here there's a list of all the different kill streaks. Again, when you first start the game, many of these will be locked, and so you won't be able to change, but as you level up, you'll get them unlocked and you can choose through all of them. We'll go through each one individually, but first I want to highlight one thing very important. Down in the bottom left-hand corner here, there's a trigger for going between kill streaks and score streaks. What you'll see here on the screen is right now this UAV I have selected requires a 4 kill streak, meaning I need to get 4 kills to get a UAV. If I switch to use score streaks instead, I need 500 points, which is equivalent to 5 kills. However, if you're playing any sort of objective-based mode, this is actually significantly better than a kill streak. For example, in Domination, when you capture a flag, you get 200 points, or a score of 200. So doing 1 flag capture is equivalent to getting 2 kills. So if you ever play objective mode, I would highly recommend switching this to score streaks, but it's personal preference. Now, for the streaks themselves, like I said, there's a variety of different streaks you can choose from, both offensive and defensive types of streaks, and depending on your playstyle is going to determine which ones that you want. First up is the basic, what everybody pretty much runs, which is UAV. A UAV is an unmanned aerial vehicle that does a sweeping run across the map and puts little red pings wherever the enemies are at. So this gives you about 30 seconds of active pinging of where the enemies are on the map. Do note that the pinging is slightly delayed because there is a sweep effect that'll show you a snapshot, and then a couple seconds later there's another sweep, so it's not fully active all the time. The next kill streak that we have is the bomb drone. This is a remote control drone where you take control of it. You then go and fly it around the map and choose when to detonate it. You can use this to go blow up enemy equipment or to kill individual enemies. Next up is the counter UAV. This is the counter to a UAV. It is an electrical jammer of sorts, but what it does specifically is it jams your enemy's minimap. So not only can they not see you if they have a UAV up, but it blocks them from seeing anything on the map, including where their teammates are, where who's holding which objectives. And so it's a very useful tool to kind of blind the enemy from having some information they would otherwise normally have. Next up is the cluster mine. This is a device that you throw onto the ground, and it puts little mines around it so that when somebody runs over it, it explodes. Similar to like a proxy mine, for example, except for it has a cluster of multiple and it detonates immediately versus having that effect of launching into the air and then exploding. A care package is a box that a helicopter will drop in from the sky. You then need to capture it. So the thing to note with this is if you call in a care package and you die, somebody else, your team or the other team, could go and take that care package from you. This will give you a random reward kill streak, so it's kind of a lower level score that you need to get something that could potentially be very high up the list, or it could just be another basic item that you get. So this is kind of your random or mystery box of kill streaks. Next up is the precision airstrike. This allows you to designate a specific location that you want an airstrike to come through. a plane will come through and it'll launch a strike on that designated area. So you'll pull up a little map indicator, you'll mark it, and it'll drop the airstrike right there. A cruise missile is the next one. This is a guided missile where you go into a little tablet view and you have a view of where the rocket is going. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, and you can target directly where you want it to hit. So it'll show little enemies on the screen for you, and then you can determine where you want to drop it. A mortar strike. This is probably the most annoying kill streak in my opinion, where it just keeps sending waves of mortars over and over and over again. You have a little device that you throw down to mark the area, and then it just sends mortars for the next 30 seconds. And anybody who runs into that area will get obliterated. The sentry gun is a little bit more of a defensive mechanic. This is an automated turret that you set down, and it has a sweeping pattern it does to look for anybody within its field of view. Roughly 100 degrees or so, 120 degrees maybe. And anybody that runs in front of it, it's going to shoot them and spray them down. So this can be used very well to defend a flag or an objective where it can hold one of the angles for you while the rest of the team focuses on another direction. The SAE is similar to the precision airstrike, except for you designate 3 different targets where it's going to launch it and drop its bombs. So typically, you'll pick a spot, a series of locations a little bit spread out to cover a greater area with that strike. The VTOL jet is a jet that comes through and it launches an initial precision at the start, and then it hovers over that location and defends that location. If you want that VTOL jet to move, you'll get a prompt on your screen that tells you how to move it to cover your position. So you can't go choose a new position afterwards, but you can tell it to come, mark, and sit where you are. So if you call it in on an objective, for example, like a hard point, and then that hard point ends and there's a new one and you're on that new hard point, you can then tell it, hey, come to me and sit above me, and it'll watch from the skies. And similar to like a sentry turret, it'll just be constantly watching for enemy to come in its field of view, and it'll spray them down with a minigun. The Overwatch helo is an unmanned helo that watches over your position. It'll ping nearby enemy locations before it actually goes ahead and attacks them, so it'll also kind of give you a heads up of where the enemy is coming from, and it just kind of monitors your location and provides cover for you, similar to the VTOL jet. The Wheelson is a small robotic tank that you are able to control and drive around the map to eliminate enemies. You also have the ability to turn on an auto sentry mode where it will go by itself and pretty much shoot down anything that's in its path. The Stealth Bomber is similar to the SAE or the Precision Airstrike, where it comes through and it drops explosives in a running path across the map. The difference here is it's significantly larger. The Chopper Gunner, which is one that I mentioned a little bit earlier, the Chopper Gunner is a chopper that you control. You have the ability to shoot rockets, to shoot a minigun, and to move or actually fly in and maneuver the chopper. So when you get this kill streak, you call it in, you enter into the chopper, and you're flying around. Do note that when you do enter this, you're actually still physically on the map, so you can be killed while you're in this kill streak, so just keep that in mind. The emergency airdrop is the equivalent to a care package, except for it's 3 care packages. So it'll drop 3 care packages all at once, each one giving you a random kill streak. So this is pretty powerful in the sense that your odds of getting a good kill streak are high, plus you get 3 kill streaks. So it's not a bad deal, but again, it's random. You don't know what you're going to get. Next up, we've got the gunship. This is similar to the Chopper Gunner, where you're actually up in the sky shooting. The difference here is that you're not flying the gunship. You don't get to maneuver around. However, you've got heavy artillery that you're shooting. So you've got 2 different types of cannons, the 40mm and the 25mm, and you just rain down fire from the sky. The next one is an advanced UAV. So if you remember all the way back at the beginning, a UAV gave us a sweeping pattern showing us pings of enemy locations every couple seconds. An advanced UAV is a constant UAV. It shows you at all times where your opponents are, in a continuous feed. So there is no delay in terms of where they are on the map and where they actually are in the game. In addition, it'll show you with a little arrow indicator which direction that they're looking, so you know, are you coming up behind them, are you running straight in front of them, and that can help you prepare better for your engagement. This, in addition, I believe goes a little bit longer than a traditional UAV, so it lasts a little bit longer. But just like a UAV, this can be countered with a counter UAV, which is a very early on streak. So if you get this and you call it in, make sure to be on the lookout if you hear a counter UAV come in. You want to get rid of that so you can actually take advantage of it. The last kill streak we have here is the Juggernaut. This is another care package, but it's guaranteed to be the Juggernaut. The care package will drop in, you must capture it, and then you will put on a Juggernaut suit, which is extremely heavy armor, and you have a minigun. You get to just walk around the map, you move slower, but you're just an absolute tank. You can just mow down anybody in your path extremely quickly, and it takes a lot for them to finally kill you. So this is definitely the most powerful one out there, but as well as the highest one on the list. Let me know which kind of kill streaks that you like to use in the comments below. Or if you have any further questions about kill streaks, make sure to comment that down too, and I can follow up with you on those. So, now that we're done with our kill streaks, what do we got next on the table? The last piece about the weapons tab, which isn't so much a weapon, but it's vehicle customization. If you remember, or if you played Warzone 1, you have vehicles throughout the game that can be used. Similarly, in Ground War for multiplayer or Invasion for multiplayer, you'll have vehicles you can use. Throughout each of these vehicles, there's different skins, which are basically paint jobs, if you will, on them that you can choose from. You can unlock, you can buy from the store. And so if you have one of those skins that you want to use, you can go ahead and select it here. You'll notice up at the top, there's also a Horns and War Tracks tab, which we cannot access right now. Those will also be selectable in the future. So in Warzone, there's different types of horns, such as a fire engine, or just a normal car horn, or maybe some songs or tunes or whatever that it plays when you hold down the horn. War Tracks is basically a radio for your car. There's a specific song that you can choose from to have play in the background while you're driving your vehicle around. That concludes what we have for the weapons tab. We've got a couple more tabs here left on the home screen. First one is operators. This is where you actually choose your character for what you're going to look like in the game. As you unlock operators, or again, if you purchase them in the store, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you can then go and pick which operator you want to use. Now, there's two different types of operators. There's the Spec Gru and the Cortac. Those are the two teams within a given match, right? You are on one team or the other. You don't get to choose which team you go on, it's assigned for you, but you can choose which one is your favorite by clicking on the triangle button. In my case, you can see under the name Spec Gru, and that would switch that over to being my favorite. Right now I've got Cortac because the operator I like to use is under that one. Then you simply just go and select which operator do you want. There's a wide variety of them. Like I said, if you bought the Vault Edition, you got some special operators that were only accessible through that. Otherwise, as you do the Battle Pass in the future, as you buy operators in the store, you just come find them under here. If you have an operator that has multiple skins unlocked, you can go and choose which one you want to use. For example, on this Rangers 1 operator, you can see I have the option to customize. When I click square to customize, I then select Ranger skin, and it gives me 4 different skins to choose from. So then I can choose and say, you know what, I actually like this one better, so I want this as my operator. Or maybe I bought a skin for this operator, so I had to go through this progression to go find that specific skin. So that's how you go ahead and find it, and then I can go and say, I want that to be my operator. And now you can see the guy with the night vision goggles is going to be my operator moving forward. If you want to preview them without all of the overlay over them, you just go ahead and click L3 and it gives you a look at them. You can turn them around, you can move the camera up and down, you You can zoom in, you can zoom out. So it just helps to get you a little bit better look. Maybe there's a specific feature on the backpack or whatever that you're trying to figure out what it is and you want to look at it. This just gets you that nice 360 view of what they look like. The other thing that you can do in here is you can get a bio about each of these operators. They all have background stories. There's lore about all of them that you can find online and such. For Chewie, you can see he's a citizen of Mexico. He speaks Spanish. He's part of the faction Spec Gru. And then it gives a little background on him about, where did he come from? How does he fit into the overall game? So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, this is where you would find all of the operator bios. That concludes our operator tab. The next up is the battle pass, which is not currently available because I am recording this before season 1 happens. But basically what the battle pass is it's 100 tiers of emblems and equipment items and calling cards, operator skins, weapon skins that you can unlock throughout a season by just playing the game. Getting kills, doing objectives, etc. helps you to level up and unlock those throughout each season. So for each season, a battle pass is released. You can purchase those through the store using COD points, or if you don't have any, you then need to buy some COD points to do so. So if that's something that you're interested in, the battle pass is where you do that. And I can always make a video about that in the future once that's available if anybody would like it. The final piece is the store, which we've mentioned a couple times. The store is where you're going to find all of your different bundles and packs for operators and weapons and etc. that you can purchase straight out to get access to certain types of skins or things without having to unlock them, or sometimes they're only available through the store. Right now, the only thing that you can actually do in the store is buy the Vault Edition, but you can expect soon here that operator packs and things are going to start showing up for purchase. So that concludes everything that you need to know about the home menu. We've now covered the home menu and the socials menu. The last two pieces that we haven't talked about yet from overarching menus are the progressions and the achievements, which we'll talk about now. Progressions is simply just a visual representation of everything that you're going to unlock at each level you progress. So you can see right now I'm level 55 and I've got everything on the screen unlocked and I'm just scrolling back to the beginning. But some of the things that we've talked about through so far, you'll see show up in here. For example, once you get to level 4, you can customize your loadouts. There might be certain equipment, like the drill charge, that you don't have access to until you hit rank 7, or the SPR sniper rifle you don't get until you hit rank 7. So one of the ways that you unlock weapons and equipment is just simply through leveling up. Other weapons have other specific challenges or things that you need to complete other than leveling up, but this will tell you all the things that you unlock, when you unlock them, and if you have already, in case you're wondering. So that's all that the progression tab is for. Maybe in the future they'll integrate the barracks and like your stats and those things into here as well, or just future progression as 55 no longer becomes the cap and you can continue to level up further. Maybe they'll have some more different types of tracking or leaderboards here. We'll have to just wait and see. The achievements tab is where you can have certain in-game achievements that you can earn through the campaign and co-op. I didn't see anything in here for multiplayer yet, but we'll see if something gets added. But these objectives are certain things that if you do this during the campaign or if you do this during the specific co-op mission, then you get this achievement. So for those of you who like to get all the achievements out there, this is where you'll find the list of which ones you have completed and which ones you have not. The nice thing is it tells you all of them up front. There's no like hidden challenge that you don't actually know what it is, at least yet. So makes it really easy to just go through and do all these if you want to do that. So that concludes all of our different tabs, what they do, what they provide access for. The last piece that we have here to talk about is our settings. Our settings have a lot of different things you can go through. I'm not going to go through and talk about all the different settings. There's lots of people who do lots of research on the settings, which ones are best, which ones are most advantageous to you, whether you play controller, keyboard and mouse, on computer, on console. So I'll leave that to those people who actually go out and do all the testing. But what I will do is I'll just give you a quick overview of what each of them do. The first setting is called Quick Settings. What this does is it takes accumulation of the what I'll call most common or most frequent settings used under all these other sections and puts them into one place. So just give me my master volume, not all of my different volume inputs. Just let me choose, do I want to play keyboard and mouse or controller? Not all of the different controls for both. And so these are your high-level basic functions that you might need. After Quick Settings comes keyboard and mouse. One thing that I'll note here is you can see when you're in this screen, instead of having to go back every single time to find the next section, you can just hit L2 and it'll pull up that grid. So it's kind of just a nice little feature if you have to hit a couple different settings at the same time. So, like I said, next up is keyboard and mouse. Keyboard and mouse is where you go to set all of your keyboard and mouse settings. This is your sensitivity of your mouse, your ADS sensitivity, etc., as well as all of your keybinds. You know, what do I want all my keys to do? You've got your preset defaults, and this is how you can find out if you don't know what one of the presets is, or if you want to rebind it to something else, you have the ability to do that too. In addition, there's this gameplay tab, which allows you to choose specific gameplay related functions that maybe aren't about key binding or about setting up your mouse itself. So, for example, crouch behavior. I have my keybind, which you can see is in my related setting there, says my keybind is set to C, but then I can choose, do I want it to toggle where if I press it, it crouches, if I press again, it goes up? Do I want it to be a hold where I have to hold it down to stay crouched and the moment I release it goes back up? Or the final option of go to, which is you press it and you go crouch and then it doesn't do anything after that, so you can't keep toggling back and forth. So this is where you go through to make all of those types of decisions. Do I want to automatically sprint or not? Do I want to auto mantle over things or not? Do I want to put in plates consecutively or one at a time? Those are the types of things that you get to choose here. Again, all under the purview of if I'm playing on mouse and key, my input. If you play on controller as your input like I do, you're going to go under the controller tab, which is the next one that gives you all of your settings for controller. All of the same types of things that you saw with mouse and key, where you're going to have, you know, what controller layout do I want, what's my sensitivity that I want, how do I want those actions to behave for interacting, aiming down sight, etc. In addition to advanced settings, like what type of aim assist, what type of dead zone do I want on my controller so I don't have that horrible stick drift. And then all of those different toggling things that I talked about with keyboard and mouse. Do I want to toggle my tactical sprint, or do I want to have to hold it in the whole time to be able to sprint? Decisions like that will be under the advanced tab. Next up, we have our graphics settings. Your graphic settings are going to be very dependent on your device, what type of monitor you have, what type of equipment you have in your PC, or if you're on console. And so the settings here are completely up to you, what you like to do. But this is where you'll choose all of your graphic settings. How good do you want to make it look? How poor do you want to make it look? What is your refresh rate target? Do you want to cap it at a certain amount or not? Do you like V-Sync or G-Sync or not? All of those types of decisions. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of which ones to use because I don't really do all that testing. I don't necessarily know that stuff the best. I have a general understanding of how I should be setting them, but I don't know the best. The thing that I'll talk about, though, is the final tab, which is the view. This is what actually determines your in-game view ability of the screen. So, for example, your field of view. Do you want to have a narrow field of view or a wide? Everybody traditionally likes a wider field of view because then you can see more around you and you're not running around a corner and having somebody stand next to you and not seeing them. The other thing that I'll note is the weapon field of view. I saw a very interesting video on this where this changes basically where is the weapon positioned on your screen, and then that coordinates or correlates with how much of your screen does it actually end up taking up. The other thing that you can change in here, which I recommend everybody do, is change your camera movement to least. What this means is when you're running around, you're not getting that head bobbing effect, feeling like you're bouncing up and down with the character. it'll keep it more steady, so you get a lot less of that visual noise that makes it hard to see your opponents. After your graphics, you have your audio. Again, this one I don't go too much into. It's all personal preference, but this is where you choose your audio mix. And they have a variety of sound options depending on what way you listen to the game, whether it's with headphones, a sound bar, a home theater, and then you can change your sliders on your volumes. The game is typically pretty loud, so sometimes I just put the master volume a little bit lower. I turn off music because I don't really care for the music in the background. If I'm going to listen to music, I'm going to choose my own. But then you can also choose what types of effects and hit markers and how those sound in relative to the rest of the game. So if you're not hearing your hit markers very well and you turn the rest of the game down, but then you keep your hit markers up high, that'll help you to hear it a little bit easier. In addition, this will also be where you get to choose which device you're using for voice chat. So if you do like to talk in game, or if you want to hear in-game comms or not hear them, you can turn that on and off here, which allows you to then, like I said, talk to other people or hear them and choose which device is used for that. Next up, we have the interface. This is going to cover all the things on your interface, the things that you see when you're in game. Things like text on your screen for subtitles, or the text around the menu and things like that. You can choose what size you want, how opaque the background is or not, whether or not you want subtitles on or off. Some people find them as a distraction. When I played through the campaign in realism mode, I kind of like to have all the HUD missing, so it really helps you get engaged, immersed in the mode. So you can make those kind of changes here. Or if you have the character volumes turned down quite a bit, you might want subtitles on so you can see what they're saying, but their voice isn't taking over the rest of the game. In addition, this is where you'll go and you'll set up your heads-up display, making sure that you're utilizing that full monitor, you're not having any black borders or anything like that. You can change your type of mini-map size, the size or shape, I should say. You're not running square, you should be. It gives you, I forget what the percentage is, but significantly more viewability of the minimap. Whether or not you want it to rotate, do you want to see your crosshairs or not? Do you want to see those visual hit markers as you take those shots? Do you want to see the full name of the player, just an indicator, a little red dot, a green dot for friendly, for not friendly, things like that. So these, again, personal preference items, but this is how you change all of those visual representations on your screen. One of the things that you might notice in the top left-hand corner of mine is I have an FPS counter, a latency counter, and a packet loss counter. If you're wondering how to find that, that's under this telemetry tab. It lets you choose things like what's your graphics card temperature and other things like that, so you can monitor those while you're playing. Those things I'm not as worried about. I've done testing on my computer before, so I'm not worried about the temperatures, so I don't put that up there. I'm just more concerned with, is my game running poorly where I might need to restart, so that way I can get it back up to what is normal frames. The last thing that I'll mention here, which is a new feature, I believe, that wasn't there before, that I kind of like, is the center dot scale. If you're like me, and sometimes I'm not the best at centering my screen or centering my crosshairs well to make sure that I'm ready to engage my opponents quickly, the center dot scale can help with that. I've made my center dot to the larger scale, so it's a little bit bigger, and it just makes it easier for me visually to see when I'm not ADS'd and make sure I'm putting that on my opponent's upper chest, neck, head area, instead of I'm zooming in and all of a sudden I'm actually looking at his knees instead. So just a helpful little feature if you didn't know that existed. But that's it for the interface tab. The last tab I'm not going to go into because there's private stuff in there. That's your account and network. This is where you would choose, do you want crossplay turned on, your other account settings, which is something that I don't want to necessarily share all those details on the screen, but that's where you would find it, is under that last tab. So there you have it. That concludes everything that we've got here for the beginner's guide to Modern Warfare 2. If you like today's content, make sure to subscribe, as we'll be continuing to bring this, as well as doing a similar type of video for Warzone 2 and the DMZ. If you have any further questions, if there was a topic I didn't cover or didn't cover well enough, please make sure to throw those in the comments below, and I will get back to you either with another video if it's a large enough topic, or just in the comments giving you a reply. I hope you all enjoyed it, and have a wonderful rest of your day.